Hey, True Believers England teen here with Dalton the Authenticator. You are a
Yeah,
Doctor Strange professor, so to speak.
he
Here,
he
so
is he is my favorite Marvel character in the comics. Um, he has not been handled well in the comics for a long time, and he has been a mixed bag in the movies. But
okay.
yeah, 11 out of 28 is where this movie currently sits, if that's any indication to anyone. But
What
we'll
do you
get
mean
into that as we
11
go.
out of why do you are you talking about like there's 28 Marvel movies and it's number 11, or like what is the
Yeah, in terms of where it's at in the MCU ranking list.
okay.
That's
Okay, I get
yeah,
it. I get it.
11 out of 28.
So
The
you
first
you
Doctor
think this
Strange
falls
was
right in the
6.
middle?
Well,
So,
on the lower side of good is where I put it. Um,
okay. So you just
as,
said the original was at a 6, so you actually like the first one better than this one.
mm, no, it's how I judge sequels. I'm always more lenient with the first movie because that's the one that has to lay all the groundwork.
Okay.
With sequels, I'm always harsher because all the groundwork has already been laid. Now let's see what you're gonna do with it. Um,
Yeah, it is more fun getting laid. Well, I'm very interested in your take on this because, of course, like this is your favorite character. You and I differ in our opinions on the first movie. I really liked it. You not so much. I like uh, I like Dickerson Cumbermine over here, whatever his name is. I like him as Doctor
Benedict.
Strange. I think he works great. I think he's a good actor. He's perfect for the role. So you and I have we differentiated on the first one. I think we may have a similar problem this time around. Granted, I always worry about recency bias. You know, you come home, you got the adrenaline pumping from seeing a movie, but this I've had a problem with Marvel movies, even though I enjoyed Endgame and I enjoyed Infinity War, and uh, I just noticed since Age of Ultron they've kind of had the same look. They're almost a little bit homogenized in the way that they look and feel. This is absolutely its own movie that manages
And,
to tie into everything that came before it as far as the mystical characters in the Marvel U, mainly, of course, Scarlet Witch. It ties into the TV show and everything. Okay, I
yeah.
paused so you could comment. Do you agree or
Sorry,
disagree on the
sorry.
look of the film?
I wanted to let you go because I have a lot to say and I don't want us to
Okay,
be
well, at
talking
least
over each
comment
other.
on the look and the feel, because to me it really does feel like its own movie. Not that it's just a part of the MCU, which it is, but honestly, this movie can be taken almost on its own if it wasn't for, of course, it being attached to
Yeah, it's
WandaVision.
yeah, it's a Sam Raimi movie
Mm-hmm.
in all the best ways that implies.
Yeah.
Um, and it's more Evil Dead franchise, Darkman franchise Sam Raimi than than it is Tobey Maguire Spider-Man Sam Raimi,
Or
and I
Indian
am
Summer, Sam
very
Raimi.
grateful for that.
Yeah, it could have come off. You're right. It could have come off very squeaky clean. But this, I don't know if the people that would watch this, if they already know, but there's a lot of violent death here. There's a lot of violent death, a lot more than you would get in an MCU. And of course, one of the reasons it can be violent and permanent looking is because it happens in other universes, but it's still present. It's
Hmm.
there.
And also because it's magically and exaggeratedly inflicted, which is why Wanda can go further than somebody like Bucky, for example,
Yeah.
in terms of villainous actions. And this movie is definitely helped by that. And this, I guess, is where um, we should get into kind of the finer points of the discussion, not the spoiler part, but the finer points of the discussion, because I think everyone and their mother, when the title Multiverse of Madness was announced, they zeroed in on multiverse and completely forgot the Doctor Strange part and the of Madness, aka a reference to John Carpenter and H.P. Lovecraft parts.
Ah, yeah, that's right.
Um, Long story short, you shouldn't have did that. Because this is not Cameo the movie, also occasionally sometimes featuring Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it
This,
really isn't. Sorry.
yeah, no, this is as I always said, this movie should double down on the Lovecraftian stuff because it has a title that evokes H.P. Lovecraft. It has a director who plays in the Lovecraftian pen and the horror comedy pen. It has a writer from Rick and Morty. It has the composer who gave us everything Tim Burton ever did right, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I think this movie earns a lot of cred with me by the fact that I think Sam Raimi and I were of similar minds with regards to this movie, in that the most interesting part of the title, Multiverse of Madness, is the of madness part, not the multiverse part.
Yeah, it really does go bonkers. You've got a magician. There's no reason to play it safe, like I do admit they did in the first one. I thought there were some good elements of magic, of the fantastical in it, but this is just bathed in the supernatural and the mystical. They understand. Sam Raimi understood. If you've got Doctor Strange, you literally can do anything. So go for it. And it's I got to tell you, it impressed me. I was watching now, and to be completely upfront, and I've said this before, I am a superhero movie shill. I'm the easiest mark on the planet because I want everything to be good and I want everything to work. So I go in very positive in on everything. You know, even if they made Catwoman 2 with Halle Berry, even though I know that one sucked, I would really, really expect and hope that this next movie would be completely awesome. And that's just the way I am. I really do want everything to be awesome. So you don't have to work too hard to win me over, but I do recognize a mundane film. I recognize bad. I've been watching movies long enough to understand this. This one blew me the freaking hell away with its imagination. Not just, hey, look, as you said, here's a cameo, here's a cameo. It really blew me away with its imagination.
Now, on that note, here's where I'm gonna say a lot of nice things about this movie, but I still have my criticism. Like I said, it is 11 out of 28, not 1 out of 28.
I would have to
and that
look see that.
And that's because for those of you like me who hated the hype around this movie being so hyper focused on the multiverse and instead wanted it to be focused on the magic and the madness and the Lovecraft stuff, kind of like Marvel's answer to the Ghostbusters or Marvel's answer to Labyrinth or Marvel's answer to the Dark Crystal or something along those lines. I do have some bad news for those of us that are the true blue dyed in the wool nerds with regards to this, and that's what this movie does. This movie separates the true blue Doctor Strange and mystical Marvel nerds from the casual Johnny Come Lately hipsters that want my cameos, my kingdom for my cameos, and that's that. This movie is the magical answer to something like Winter Soldier, not Civil War. It's not on the scale of Civil War. It's not on the scale of No Way Home. It's not on the scale of Infinity War or even something like the Guardians movies. This is, and I came up with this earlier today. The closest analogy for this movie is it does for Doctor Strange what Winter Soldier did for Captain America.
I could see that. I can see it because it really did. helped to define him closer to his comic book counterpart, and that's what I thought Winter Soldier did as well. Granted, I love the Captain America series. I actually think it's the strongest in the Marvel universe.
Yeah,
The
and I would
Captain
and I
America
would go so.
franchise.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, that's basically it.
I
I
would
just
go
think that that's strongest franchise in the Marvel universe.
I would agree with you, and I would even go so far as to say that the first Captain America is the best one. But fortunately, in the case of Multiverse of Badness, Doctor Strange 1 wasn't all that great, so nothing great is lost by deviating from it.
I really
In
do
the
have to
same
put
way
my
that
list together.
in the same way that Winter Soldier darkened up Captain America in relation to the first movie, so too this movie, in about the same degree, darkens up Doctor Strange. So too that Bucky is a large focus in Winter Soldier. So too here, Wanda is a large focus.
I We're gonna have to go over the characters. Finish your thought, and then we're gonna talk more about the characters and such, because I do want to speak on that.
Well, I mean the parallels go on, and maybe I'll talk about some of them later. But that's the scale and that's the scope that you're getting here. Magical Marvel and cosmic Marvel fans, you're getting something more on the scale of Winter Soldier, not a Civil War, a No Way Home, or an Infinity War.
Which I kind of like. One of the things that a lot of people say about the comics, and we see it in the movies, it's happening in the movies, the stories are getting too big. Eternals had to save the world. The Avengers, Infinity, and Endgame saved the world. It's all about this big, broad, oh my gosh, everybody's in danger kind of thing. This one, even though it transversed multiple universes, was really a personal story. It brought it back in, and you actually ended up caring about the characters, all of them, a bit more, because the stakes, while they said ultimately like, oh, this could destroy the universes, really it was about Wanda losing her crap trying to find her children. She wanted to be a mother again, and she was going to use the Darkhold to find them, to discover them, to recreate them, so to speak, to find them
This is
within
your brain
the
on ancient dark magic, folks.
yeah. And
Basically.
of course, using the ancient dark, she goes nuts. One thing I will say though is everybody who was mad because they weren't treating her like a villain at the end of WandaVision, they absolutely were in this movie. She went straight up bad guy in this one, and it freaking worked. I got to tell you, it was harsh. It was hard to see, because I was like, oh no, 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 this is so good. No, yes, do that, but no. It was just one of those things. Watching her fall was and it was kind of harsh. It was kind of hard to do as a fan of the movies, as a fan of the Avengers, a fan of Scarlet Witch. But ultimately, it was the direction her character was going in, even through the TV show. We wanted to be on her side, but at a certain point in this movie, you can no longer be on her side. You just can't.
It's not like they didn't set that up already in Age of Ultron and in Civil War and in Endgame when she's going up against Thanos and so on and so forth. Like, this is an established part of her character, and it is an established fact of her character in the comics. When Scarlet Witch goes through a tantrum of the emotional kind, reality has a very bad day.
Vic is asking, do you need to see WandaVision to appreciate this? I'm going to say no. And the reason why is they explain enough in the film during the dialogue that you understand what's going on. I think you'll get a little extra out of it if you have seen it. But in all honesty, no, you don't have to see it. The dialogue explains things to you as you go. So you find out that she kept a town under mind control. She used her magic to create her children, and she wants those children back, and she's willing to rip up the multiverse and kill this child, America Chavez, to do it. And that's basically all you need to know. They explain it in the dialogue at the beginning. So yeah, you're good to go. If you watch this movie, you're good to go.
That being said, I would recommend watching it if you can stomach sitting through it. If
Which I can. I
you
love it.
yeah
I'm now that my only complaint was the same complaint everybody else had, was at the end they treated Wanda like a hero when she was a villain. Well, now she's the villain. It had been as they say, a slippery slope. So now I can watch that show. I think it'll be a lot easier because I know her destination. I know where she's going with this, and it's a lot easier to take. Hello to Dominic. Dalton, have you seen Doctor Strange? Well, that's actually what we're talking about
yeah
right here. We're
yeah
doing our review. Yeah,
review currently in progress as we speak.
I think you like it, but you're not head over heels. And so far, I really like this movie. I
No,
don't know if I love the film. I don't know where it would stand, but I really thought this movie was the Doctor Strange film I've always wanted.
this is where I'm at with it. It, like I said, it gets a lot back from me. It gets a lot of good cred with me in that it isn't the cameo-filled non-Doctor Strange abomination that I was very worried this would be, and that Sam Raimi appears to be on my side with regards to the issue of the important part of the title Multiverse of Madness was the of madness part, less so the multiverse part. That is the correct direction. And it does enough for me to be like, yeah, no, it's in the good pile. It the way my list is set up is there are 13 good MCU movies. There are 5 meh to disposable ones, and there are 10 bad ones. That's where my
Okay.
list is, and this one is 11 out of 13
No.
in that it is on the lower end of good because, as per usual, especially lately with the MCU, especially post Endgame, it gives you just little bits of how far they could go, and then they act like it's enough, and I'm like, guys, but we're 10 years and change into this now. We're post Guardians, we're post Avengers Infinity War, we're post all of that stuff. So bring the A game. And there are moments where they do, and there was one moment in particular where I was literally clapping as I watched it, like just
Well,
giddily, like if I could jump up and down, I would have.
when
But
in a little bit we're going to start talking spoilers, and by all means, you could tell us that part. I still am okay speaking in a
yeah,
few
no,
vagaries.
I'm not ready for spoilers just yet. I'm just
Yeah.
saying there was one moment where I'm like, can we get more of this? Like we've gotten
Well,
unnecessary amounts of the mirror dimension lately, please. I want
we
this to become the new mirror dimension gimmick and
my
show up all the
theater
time.
my theater had a couple of those moments too. One of them had to do with the cameos, and I out loud because of some of the music. It was like, oh, that's just too hot. But overall, yeah, this it's a good movie, gang. It really is, and it's a good Marvel movie. But actually, maybe I should say it's not a good Marvel movie, and that's what makes it a good movie. Because a lot, like I said, this does not have the homogenized look of a Marvel film. This is a Sam Raimi movie that fits into the Marvel universe. And please let this make a ton of money. I want this to make so freaking much money that they realize their best bet going forward is to hire established directors, not the new guys that they can boss around, but established directors that will add a vision that will then be placed into the canon of the Marvel universe.
Well,
I would
that
like to see
and
that.
yeah, that and go for the weird, please.
Steer
Yeah,
into the comic books. I mean,
yeah,
I don't
and
want to see. I don't want to see the page for page. I'm not saying that. What
no,
I'm saying
no,
is
by no
that
means.
we.
Do your own thing, but do a thing that is on par with or surpasses the
Yeah,
comics.
I'm
Um,
not spoiling anything because it was in the trailer to say that we get a zombie Doctor Strange. It was in the trailer. I'm not spoiling it, but that is the kind of thing I want to see in all comics. I want to see the craziness in comics. Give me just can you turn the TV down or off? It's a little bit loud. Thank you, honey. And I really do. I think that's one of the it could be one of the strengths going forward of the Marvel universe if they allow directors to be themselves. You know, that was the problem with Edgar Wright. He didn't want to be flatlined. He wanted to be Edgar Wright while making an
He
Ant-Man
didn't
film.
want to remake Iron Man, but with Ant-Man, he wanted
Yeah,
to presumably do his wacky quantum shtick like he did in Scott Pilgrim versus the World with video game aesthetics and so on.
let's bring it on. The funny thing is, everybody loved that same aesthetic in the Into the Spider-Verse, the animated movie. So
Yeah,
it works. It works.
yeah, and the weird part of the MCU is an established part. We've gotten two Guardians movies and a Thor Ragnarok and an Infinity War, and the competition, i.e., DC, has already given us a Shazam movie that introduced the Seven Deadly Sins and Mr. Mind in the first movie, and Suicide Squad 2, which, as far as I'm concerned, is the watershed for weirdness that Marvel should do their darndest to surpass, like now.
I hate the fact that Suicide Squad 2 or the Suicide Squad didn't make money because I want to see
it,
more of it.
it should have made so much. Like it should have made Aquaman money. Is what
Yeah,
it should have
that
done.
would have been nice. I would have loved to have seen that, and hopefully the love for Peacemaker will let them go back to the Suicide Squad well with James Gunn.
Yeah.
Zombie Doc Strange, is that where Bruce Campbell's Strange fits in? I will not say any spoilers just yet.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
we're not. We're
we're
not
still
into.
speaking in vagaries, and a little bit we'll go spoilerish on you. Yeah, is there what else can I say? Oh, by the way, here's something. We all know America Chavez is in the movie, so I'm not spoiling anything there. I liked her. I liked her here a hell of a lot better than I liked her in the comics.
Yeah, they fixed her. They sanded off all
Yeah.
the rough edges. There's no Captain Marvel-esque. She breaks a guy's hand because of a patriarchy or anything.
None of that actually is in here.
She's a likable character for all intents and purposes, and she doesn't overshadow or demean or belittle Doctor
Be safe, honey.
Strange and crew, other than giving them the occasional little bit of sass, like every other freaking Marvel character. That being said,
it's a bait and switch because there's no SJW bullshit to ruin the story.
well, it's a bait and switch because everyone and their mother forgot that this was a Doctor Strange movie and had Lovecraftian overtones in the title when they saw the word multiverse. This is a movie, like I said earlier, and I'll repeat again because it does perfectly sum up this movie. This movie separates the true blue, honest to goodness nerds from the Johnny come lately hipsters who just want cameos.
Okay, we're 23 into this review. I think that everybody's got a good idea. I strongly recommend you see this. Actually, not only do I strongly recommend you see it, I strongly recommend you see it in the theater with an excellent sound system and the big screen. Yeah, I think it deserves to be seen there.
And I'm begging you to see this because my issues are, as per usual with Marvel, they give little bits of very good flavor, but they don't. They do just enough to do good enough, and at this point, good enough isn't enough for me.
Mostly. When we go spoiler in just a few moments, I will tell you why I think that that's where they're going. But absolutely, you have seen the trailer Undead. I'm glad because there's a lot of stuff that we've mentioned that's only in the trailer. There have been rumors and such, and we'll talk a little bit about those. Now we're going into spoiler territory. Okay, so 10, 9, 8, 7 spoilers coming. Have a good day, gang. If you really don't want to hear it, I understand. Please come on back and check out the rest of the review to see if you agree or disagree with what we're going to say. I do want to go over the characters a little bit, and so we'll be able to open this up. Now, Here we go. Starting with this, I'm talking 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The reason I think they're going to steer into more crazy magic stuff in the third film is because of the closing credit scene. Not the closing at the very end, but the mid-credit scene.
Yeah, with
Charlize Theron, ladies and gentlemen, pops up, and she's Clea.
she's playing Clea.
You talk about you talk about this tells you who the real nerds are. As she pops up on screen, and me and this guy behind me go, Clea. And it was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And it was just, and then she rips open reality into the Dormammu.
Yeah, the dark dimension.
The dark dimension. Thank you. So I actually do believe they're going to steer into it in the next film.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, man.
Clea, niece of Dormammu, wife/ex-wife of Doctor Strange and his former apprentice, and the mistress of the dark dimension.
And current Doctor Strange. And boy, will she tell you she's supreme. Okay, but that was just the very last thing. It was the fan service, and it worked. It worked for us. The other fan service, which I'm sure you heard at this point, there's going to be a lot of cameos and we heard the voice. We heard Professor X's voice, and it's like the Illuminati.
Yeah.
They didn't bring back Robert Downey for Iron Man, so he's not in the Illuminati, but it does include Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel. It includes the
Maria, not Monica.
Maria Rambeau. I thought that was Monica.
It was her mother.
That's right. It was her mother. Yeah, the one that plays in James Bond and was in the Captain. You're right. It had Professor Xavier. It had Mordo. We see him in the previews, and then of course the surprises was the Inhumans from the TV show. He gets to play
Black Bolt. Yep.
And I thought he did fine with what he had. And yes, the one that my theater went freaking nuts when they saw him. But John Krasinski is Reed freaking Richards, looking pretty damn hot in that Fantastic Four outfit. You got, I mean, you're the one that goes that way. Yeah, am I wrong? Tell me I'm not wrong on this.
No, I mean he's not my type, and I worry a little bit about the flexibility in this case, but
we do see a little bit of it when they're confronting Wanda. The Illuminati actually does confront Wanda, and Reed Richards, you see his legs come down and then the rest of his body, and I thought that was a really good shot.
Yeah, and backing up just a second to talk a little bit more about Black Bolt. For those of you who, like me, consider Scott Buck to be the Joel Schumacher of the Marvel Universe for overly grounding and effing up every single comic book property he's put in charge of, they fix Black Bolt. No longer can he speak at a human volume, and only the building around him will crumble to the ground. This is a man who, with a whisper, could crack a moon.
Yeah, we actually see him dust a version of Doctor Strange just by whispering. So that is one thing. The Doctor Strange of that universe just went nuts, and he dusts them. And that I was like, oh, I'm such a nerd. I'm so happy.
Yeah, because again, like those of us who like the weirder side of comics hate Scott Buck with a passion because he ruined Black Bolt and everything else.
The one thing I would have liked to have seen is Medusa by his side speaking for him. That is something that a lot of people find nowadays, a lot of the wrong people find offensive, and I would have loved to have seen it. She has always been the voice of the king, and I think that would have been awesome because they've always had that kind of rapport, the mental rapport, so she knows his thoughts. I would have absolutely freaking
it's a little bit like in that one episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation that had the mute guy who had the whole choir speaking for him. That's what Medusa does for Black Bolt.
Yeah, unfortunately they didn't have her, but the rest of the Illuminati was awesome, and it was just really cool that now they've got an in. They've got an in to get the Fantastic Four in there. They've got an in for The X-Men, the Inhumans can be brought to the MCU and actually done properly. When that will be done, I don't know, or if it will be done. Um, so,
I hope to goodness so.
so the story as it goes, we see Doctor Strange. The movie opens with Doctor Strange and America Chavez running from a big magic creature who wants to absorb the powers of America Chavez. We know America Chavez can, as they say, punch holes through into other dimensions. So she's an interdimensional traveler. What makes her special, though, is she's the only one. What they'd say in the MCU is when you dream, you're actually looking into the lives of your interdimensional selves, and those
Yeah,
are your dreams.
they play with that. They play with that theory about dreams and how they're alternate universes.
Mm-hmm.
So
And once
much so.
again, oh,
Go
go on
ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your sentence, and I'll say mine.
So much so that when a sorcerer in the MCU proper possesses one of their other selves with their astral form, they refer to it as dreamwalking, which
Right.
again, big thumbs up from me for just that little touch.
Yeah, I love we joked about the portal puncher bit when America had her own comic. It was described as this. Wong says, "So wait a second, that reoccurring dream I have where I'm running away from a clown naked," and they said, "Well, that's happening to you in some
there,
universe." Okay, so yeah.
there'd be a universe where there's a clown who wants to murder the
One
team.
of the
This we know.
universes they go through, they're made of cake. So it's odd. They really do steer into the oddness of comics, the oddness of what this would mean. It's very bizarre. It's a very bizarre movie, but it's so good. So we find out that this creature wants to absorb her powers. The Doctor Strange that is protecting her figures the best way to stop this evil being from getting her powers is to absorb America Chavez himself. He gets killed. America Chavez escapes into our dimension, the 616. And of course, what's that character, the big eye?
Uh, it should have been
What?
Shimagorath, but for the sake
Yeah.
of tying in with the Submariner and also contractual obligations because they don't have the rights to Shimagorath, it's
Mhm.
Gargantos.
Okay.
But that means they might get the rights to Shimagorath later, which means Shimagorath could and should be a bigger deal, which I'm
So,
all in favor for. And before this movie, I would have said, "Oh no, it's just because my contractual obligations they wanted to use Shuma, but they couldn't." But in this case, I'm actually grateful that they couldn't use Shimagorath right off the bat because they won fight Gargantos, and
yeah, they
if
kind of
they had
nerfed.
done, go ahead,
No, I
sorry.
just said they nerfed them.
Yeah. If they had done that with Shimagorath, I would have been fuming with rage. So hopefully this means that much in the same way as with what's the movie? How to Train Your Dragon, how all the little dragons serve one bigger dragon. Um, if it turns out that Shimagorath and the many angled ones operate like a hive, and the Garganto sized ones are like the worker bees, and Shimagorath is the center of the hive mind, that could be some very good things right there. So I'll take it, and I'm willing to believe that if Sam Raimi comes back for the sequel, God's willing, or better yet, get Del Toro in there, um, they'll do exactly that. So
So she comes into this, and Wong shows up. By the way, if you want to get ticked off by, as I've seen some people getting ticked off that Moon Knight had help, I'm sorry. It's a bait and switch movie where Wong has to save the life of Doctor Strange. Oh, the fucking nightmare! Yeah, but he
yeah,
jumps in. They stop the monster, and they're wondering what they could do. And he goes, "Wait a second, I do know somebody who's had experience with the dark hold. They figure they're dealing with dark magic, and so he goes to
and
visit Wanda.
witchcraft specifically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he goes to visit Wanda, and he's talking to her, and she says, "Well, you need to bring America Chavez to me." And this stops Doctor Strange, and she's like, "You didn't tell me her name, did you?" And so Wanda reveals this very nice area. You see it in the previews, is actually barren. It's dead. She's been under the spell of the dark. She's been using the black magic for so long that now she herself is becoming a being of black magic. And she says that she wants to absorb the powers so she can find her children, so she can go be a mother again. And she, of course, will kill America Chavez to do this. Doctor Strange says it's not going to happen. What is that area? They have all the wizards training. They decide to bring America there.
The city of Camartage.
So Wanda basically says, I'm going to go there for the child tomorrow. Just give her to me. And Doctor Strange says, well, what if we don't? And she says, then it won't be Wanda coming for her. It will be the Scarlet Witch. Doctor Strange relays this message, and Wong has all of the magicians come in and to defend and to fight the Scarlet Witch. When he hears the words Scarlet Witch, it actually fills him with fear.
He craps himself.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, the Scarlet Witch. So of course she comes in and there's a big fight. I'm not going to spoil details. It's just, the overlaying. I thought it was actually when they're in that particular battle, I liked that a lot because it really was a magical and psychological battle. She used fear tactics. They used, of course, the magic. I like the ways they tried to stop her or slow her down. I was real disappointed when I saw him bring arrows, but then, of course, when the arrows turned into magic, I thought that was kind of cool.
Well, yeah, there's that. And minor thing for me, because one of the things that the MCU actually, for all intents and purposes, created was the mirror dimension in the first Doctor Strange movie. Mm-hmm. And I have always hated that freaking gimmick because I've always felt that it was the laziest visual effects or gimmick in the first Doctor Strange. But in this movie, they actually justify it by saying that the reason it's called the mirror dimension isn't just because it's all fractalized and whatnot, is because literally every reflection in existence is connected to it.
And that's what she uses to get out.
And also kill a bunch of people along the way, like freaking Bloody Mary. And I like this. This will do. It annoyed me that they made up the mirror dimension because the astral plane is a well-established thing in various different religions and various different philosophies. So the fact that they just made up the mirror dimension was like, aw. But you know what? No, if they're doing this thing where every reflection or every mirror in the world is connected by a literal mirror dimension, I'll take it. Yeah. I can work with that. I can live with that. That's good.
Also, if you're a fan of Wong, this movie's going to make you very happy. He is not a side character on this. Well, of course, he's a supporting character, but he's not a cameo in this either. He's got a lot to do here.
While we were in non-spoiler mode, I made comparisons to Winter Soldier with regards to this movie, and there are many reasons why that is a perfect comparison. Among them is because if you look at the way the characters' screen times are spaced out in that and how they function in the movie, then obviously Doctor Strange is taking kind of Cap's role. Wanda is taking Bucky's role. Wong is taking Black Widow's role. And America is basically the Sam Wilson of the movie.
So the place that I forget the name again. What's the name of the place that the wizards are at? The training center and all
Camartage, the city of
Okay,
Camartage.
so they end up getting destroyed. Not everybody's dead. Wong is captured. Doctor Strange makes his escape with America Chavez into another dimension. And we come to this one. He figures, okay, this is a good chance to find out if to go search for other Doctor Strange. And he shows up at the Sanctum. and we see that there's a statue outside honoring Doctor Strange. Apparently, this one's dead, and now the Sorcerer Supreme in this universe is Mordu. We see it in the previews. And he ends up drugging Doctor Strange and America Chavez, bringing him to the Illuminati. And I already told you who was in the Illuminati. And they realized
you missed Captain Carter, though. To be fair,
no, I mentioned. I think I said Peggy Carter, but yeah, Captain Carter from the What If. She's in that, and I kind of like this. They did not trust Doctor Strange because Doctor Strange in their universe was the one that went nuts, and they had to put him down.
He cheated using the Darkhold to destroy Thanos, and the Darkhold, for those that don't know, is basically a cross between the One Ring, the Death Note, and the Necronomicon Ex Mortis. That book is literally condensed evil. It's called the Darkhold because it holds darkness. That's what it does. Yeah.
So the
go ahead.
Oh goodness, I forgot what they're the Infinite now
Illuminati.
I just said it. The Illuminati is holding Doctor Strange hostage. They want to actually make sure that he cannot go from dimension to dimension and everything. But they have to vote. Well, before they vote, in our universe, we find out that Wong is still alive. So are some of the students, and one of them comes up to him while Scarlet Witch is trying to dream walk into a version of her that is near Doctor Strange. She gets in, and while she's in there, one of the students comes up. Wong says, "You need to release me so I can destroy the Darkhold." And she says, "No, it cannot be you." And she runs over, grabs the book, stabs it. This wakes Scarlet Witch up, and we see the student turn to dust, and the Darkhold is destroyed. So Scarlet Witch takes Wong to a temple where on the walls you have the Darkhold. And we find out that this is it's an what do you call those? I'm
shrine.
A shrine. Thank you. It's a shrine to the Scarlet Witch. So
and also Cathan.
There you go. And she is in a place of power, so she decides to daywalk dreamwalk. Excuse me. And so she puts herself into the body of that Wanda, and she goes to where Doctor Strange, America Chavez, and the Illuminati are, and she attacks the building. Well, and I love the fact that Reed Richards, I'm assuming it's Reed Richards, had set up Ultron to be attack dogs. You know how Tony Stark had all the robots. Well, they now work for him. So you get Wanda fighting all these Ultron bots. And then, of course, the Illuminati comes in. And once again, gang, I'm telling you, this is the spoiler version of the review if you haven't noticed it yet.
There'll be spoilers. There'll be spoilers beyond this point and also a little bit before it, you know.
So the Illuminati jump in front. Obviously, Reed Richards is either the spokesman or the leader. I got the feeling that Professor Xavier is more of a leader, but he's Reed Richards is the spokesman. He lands in front. He says, "Wanda, you don't have to do this. It's I have kids of my own. I understand your pain." And she says, "Do your kids have a mother?" And he says, "Yes." She says, "Good. There will be somebody to take care of them." And he says, "Well, Black Bolt can destroy you with a whisper, or with one word out of his mouth." And she says, "What mouth?" And this is where Sam Raimi comes. This is where Sam Raimi goes, no. I'm going to direct some shit here. And she says, "What mouth?" And you see Black Bolt, boom, no mouth. And he's like, and he does that, and his head goes, because he made the noise. It has nowhere to go out now, so it goes out in the back of his head instead. I was like, holy shit. And then she goes, whoop. And Reed Richards unwinds, just like if you were to cut paper and then just kind of push it up.
Okay, you guys remember that scene in The Incredibles where Edna is demonstrating Elastigirl's suit and she says, "Your suit can stretch as far as you can," and then it twirls? It's like that.
Yeah, but
except Reed is in it.
Basically, she turns them into spaghetti. I mean, it's really bad. And so basically, the Illuminati come on. I like the fact that Captain Britain, I guess it was. She the Peggy Carter, I believe. Yeah. Anyway, I like
Captain
the fact that
Carter. Yeah.
Captain Carter, whatever you want to call her. I like the fact that she was one of the last ones because that always happens. It's always Captain America versus Thanos, that kind of thing. So
Hmm.
I like that callback to it. Captain Marvel, of course, the last one standing, and Wanda goes through them all, and then we get a battle between her and Charles Xavier and it happens in the mind. It wasn't like X-Men 3 where they just showed him standing there. It actually went inside the mind
Yeah,
for the
no,
battle.
he incepted her, and we actually get
Mhm.
to see her mindscape basically.
Yeah,
Um, and with regards to Captain Marvel, there, she Wanda is able to steal Captain Marvel's energy. So somebody get Brie Larson on the line and gloat to her because, as it turns out, as
yeah.
powerful as Captain Marvel might be, if
Scarlet
Wanda
Witch.
feels like it, once she's been fiddling with the Darkhold for long enough, she can just go, "That's nice. That's mine now," and you get crushed by a giant statue.
Mordo survives because while this is going on, Doctor Strange, who had been in shackles, once again we see it in the trailer, he goads Mordo into a fight where they break the shackles, and they're each of them is wearing one, so neither one can perform magic, so it's a physical fight that Doctor Strange wins and is able to get out of this crevice that they fall into, and he goes and runs to help, and Wanda gets I'm blanking out here for this middle part. I know at this point we see Wanda, she's trying to get a hold of America Chavez, and goodness, what's her name? The God damn it, I just watched the movie.
Christine Palmer.
Thank you, Christine Palmer. She comes in and she actually rescues America Chavez and Doctor Strange, and they run into this underground tunnel. And Wanda is freaking Jason Voorhees in this right here.
Yeah.
Because every time they throw anything at her, she's just like slowly walking, boom, boom, boom. And at this point, it's in the previews. You see her like half blood, and she's just looking all sorts of evil.
Yeah. In case you wondered if they let Wanda be a witch in this movie where she's the Scarlet Witch, the answer is yes. Yes, they do.
Yes, yeah. Like I said, that scene where you see her bloody and it almost looks like she's half faced, and part of it's evil, part of it no, that's all
Yeah.
evil. That is all evil. She is
Yeah.
she is gone at this point.
It's because she's possessing the Illuminati universe Wanda by a dreamwalking, because in case we bury the lead, and I'm going to correct it in case we did bury the lead, sorcerers can only astral magic users in this multiverse can only astral project into alternate universes. America is the only one with the power to travel physically between them. That's why she
Right.
needs America's power. And so when she finds out they're in the Illuminati universe, she goes, "Well, there's a Wanda in that universe, so I would just borrow her body for a bit."
So it isn't actually her body. You're right. And they get to this one. They're just going through tunnels, shutting doors, throwing everything in their way. They get to a big old blast door. They close it, and they're just standing there. The guy behind me is sitting there, and he's like, "Go!" He loses it. I thought that was funny as hell. He's just go, and then they're standing there, and America's looking around. She's all scared, and then Wanda just pops up behind her, and I was like, that was a moment. The theater where I am there. Sam Raimi directs this film as a horror action movie. I cannot overstate this. He
It's a horror
really
comedy.
did make an original Marvel movie here. This is not. I liked the Endgame. I liked Infinity Crisis. I liked some of the TV shows, but they do have a homogenous look. This is its own freaking film that it fits perfectly in with the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And that scene alone, these horrific scenes really do fit, and they make sense in this movie. In that horror scene right there where he pops up, Doctor Strange pushes him back and he says, "Wanda, if this world's Wanda is in there, hold your breath, because this big tunnel they're in is actually under the ocean. So he opens it up as they run into the next, and they shut the other blast door, filling that one up, and they end up making their escape to get to the Book of Ashanti, which is what the original Doctor Strange at the very beginning of the movie and America Chavez were running towards before that Doctor Strange got killed and they ended up in the 616.
Yeah.
And so they get to the Vashante, and Doctor Strange.
Book, not the entities themselves, don't yet make an appearance in the MCU.
They get to the Book of Vashante, and Doctor Strange is about to open it up and to read off the spell when you hear a scream, and America Chavez is like this, and you see her energies emptying behind her, and there's Wanda. And she ends up using her magic to capture Christine and capture Doctor Strange. The book is now left on the floor, and Wanda destroys the Book of Ashanti. And everybody's like, oh, no.
Which to be fair, it should already technically be dead, because in the comics, and this is where I go deep lore cut, the Book of the Vishanti and the Darkhold are linked by a binding spell, because Cthulhu is the oldest and most powerful of the Elder Gods, and his younger sister, Ashtur, and her friends, or her co-deities, Agamotto and Hoggoth, create the Book of the Vishanti as a counter to it and bind them together so that whenever a new dark magic spell is invented or discovered, its counterspell will automatically show up in the Book of the Vishanti. So technically, and I would have given an extra couple points for this if they had gotten to that podium and the book was already gone because somebody nerfed the Darkhold.
Oh, Maranya, this Mordo is not our Mordo. The Mordo you meet in this movie is from a different.
Yeah, we don't get our universe's Mordo in this movie. Now, from some of the leaks, we can be fairly certain there was at one point a scene where our Mordo goes after our Wanda and she kills him, but that wasn't in this movie.
Yeah, so there's actually one of the trailers has Mordo saying, "I told you, Steven, no more magic." So that scene has to be what you're talking about, because that wasn't in the movie. So there, I guess.
No, what I'm saying is there was at one point a deleted scene from what we got of the leaks. That being said, that being no, not in the trailer, in the internet spoilers.
Okay.
That being said, I think that scene was in there, but it got cut, which means that our Mordo is still alive to cause all sorts of havoc. And if they want to keep the multiverse thing going, which I kind of hope they don't, but if they want to keep the multiverse thing going with Doctor Strange 3, this Mordo, the Mordo of the Illuminati universe, is not happy with our Strange at the moment. So Mordo on Mordo action? Question mark?
Maybe.
Mordo on Mordo tag team?
Maybe. So they lose the Vashante, and they Wanda decides, okay, I'm going to throw Christine and Doctor Strange through a whole bunch of portals to a dead universe. And so they do. So they go flying, and she opens up another portal, and you see she actually uses the energies from America Chavez. She makes her find the 616 and where she is, where Wanda's real body is, and she throws America Chavez to Wanda. So now the Scarlet Witch has America Chavez, and she could steal the powers. We go and we join up with
Christine and Strange
And now here's the thing. You see him in the trailers where there's an evil looking Doctor Strange. Everybody believes this is the Doctor Strange from What If.
It is not. And honestly, it never even looked like that Strange. So anyone who was thinking that, I don't know what you were thinking. But we do get quite a lot here, though. So you can go back to summarizing. I won't
Okay, let me
interrupt
let
too
me
much.
let me set up a couple of scenes that are going to need. When we are with the Scarlet Witch and Wong, and he's there, and they find out it's a shrine to the Scarlet Witch. She says that I forget exactly what the words were, but he tells her that he understands that she's going to kill him, and uh, she does throw him over a cliff. But we find out that Wong is actually not dead, and now he's got to. It's like the Princess Bride. He's got to scale the Wailing Wall to get back to her.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Surprise,
we go.
surprise, surprise! The Sorcerer Supreme, because Wong is currently the Sorcerer Supreme. Remember, is not that easy to kill. Yay.
Go figure. And then we join up with Christine and Doctor Strange in this. It's a dead world. The reality is folded in on itself, is how they describe it. And when they show it, it actually looks that way. And they meet the evil Doctor Strange, who has the Darkhold by him. And Doctor Strange realizes, I could use that to defeat the Scarlet Witch. Now, the Christine of this universe saw her Doctor Strange go evil, so she's a little bit hesitant to want to be a part of that. And of course, a battle ensues, and our Doctor Strange violently kills this other Doctor Strange by throwing him. He basically, if you've ever played Arkham Asylum 2, he gets the Ra's al Ghul death, where he falls from a tall height onto a spiky fence.
That being said, I'm not gonna bury the lead on this one because how he gets thrown off a cliff, Wile E. Coyote style, into some impaling things like Saruman in that deleted scene of Lord of the Rings, or yeah, is with probably my favorite action scene in the entire movie, where Doctor Strange weaponizes music.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. That's what I was talking about, how awesome this movie is because of its imagination. You're absolutely right. That scene was so freaking
Yeah,
cool.
my favorite scene in the freaking movie, because I've even said as much in live streams, and you can go back and check. I think they're still there if you want to check. Doctor Strange, even with how they describe it in the first movie, they describe it as the source code that shapes reality. They call spells a programming language. So I want to see some hacking into the fabric of reality. I don't want to see fireballs thrown. I want to see you throw the concept of fire itself at
Yeah,
people.
and
And
this
this
is what
movie,
happened.
and this movie weaponizes music. And I think even in passing a couple of times, I mentioned I want to see Doctor Strange weaponize music. So if Sam Raimi ever actually saw one of our live streams and saw that and went, "That's a good idea. I'm going to yoink that," please, by all means, go right ahead. It didn't go quite as far as I would have liked. I would have liked it to have gone on about 5 minutes longer, and for them to actually have kind of started composing their spells, kind of like you see in the sci-fi show The Magicians, when they're doing the like musical spell. You see them kind of composing literally a spell in the air. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of that. But that being said, they basically use musical notes in the same way that Polka Dot Man uses his polka dots
Yeah,
in Suicide Squad 2.
which
And
I
I'll take it.
which I like because you get da 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 going to, and then it's like bum 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 bum, and so you get these symphonic sounds as the music is obvious, Beethoven, Bach, so forth and so on, as they're firing back and forth. But you reminded me of something that I went, oh, freaking excellent music. I actually said this, great freaking music, and as I clapped. When Professor Xavier is introduced into the Illuminati, the music that's played is not the movie music, ladies and gentlemen. You actually hear da na 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 na
No, no.
da
No, no,
da
no,
na
no,
na,
no, no.
and I was like, oh yes, yeah.
Yeah. And
Sam Raimi
he's also wearing the green suit and
and he
in the
yellow
hyper
floaty thing, yeah.
wheelchair, the yellow one there. So yeah.
It was such a fanboy. Sam Raimi knows how to fanboy. That's all I gotta say, because he played those notes, and it was whoo, yes. And that's a lot of this movie. I got to tell you, it was just so freaking it was so it's exciting. It's exciting to share these things. The guy behind me, I found out, was actually a comic book geek because of the Clea, the fact that we recognize things before they even introduced Reed Richards. Um, she said that she was part of the Baxter Institute. And I heard more than just me
Geek.
go, Baxter.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
We're doing
So
this.
it was really cool. I mean, this is a comic book fans movie.
Yeah.
Once again, I've said it in the non-spoiler part. This is something you should go see. Okay, so he gets the Darkhold from bad Doctor Strange, and he realizes that he's got a way he can do the dream walking
Dreamwalking.
himself. And he's setting this up. Christine protests. He goes, "You are all the same. All you Doctor Stranges are the same." He goes, "Yes, we are. But right now there's a little girl that's going to be killed. I can't stand by and let that happen." So he's setting up the spell. And she goes, "But wait a second. Don't you have to have a Doctor Strange living in your universe?" And he says,
Nobody said anything about living.
nobody said they had to be alive. And remember, at the beginning of the movie, America Chavez arrived in the 616 with a dead Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange possesses the Doctor Strange that's dead in the Sanctorum.
The rotting corpse of Defender Strange becomes the puppet of our Strange to defeat the Scarlet Witch.
Yes. And so we do get zombie Doctor Strange. And he at first he's being attacked by souls of the damned, as he says. But then Christine reminds him, "Wait a second, these are spirits. You're the master of mysticism. Use them." And so he actually does. He figures out a way to weaponize them. They fly him to the Darkhold with the Scarlet Witch, and the big battle ensues.
And yes, we do get a reference shot to that scene in Infinity War where Strange uses the images of Icon to duplicate himself. He does a kind of similar thing with all of the you kind of get glimpses of it in the trailer. There's a scene with Doctor Strange and all of the spirits and demons and whatnot behind him, and it kind of resembles that sort of multi-armed Hindu god shot from Infinity War where he's using the images of Icon.
Oh, Matthew, if you're talking about the Beyond the Source Wall, yes, that is a new name for the movie channel. It's going to change. I don't like that one. It's going to change one more time as we start putting more stuff onto that channel. I would recommend everybody to be watching this on I Love Comics, because then you can see everybody's comments on that. Let's see. The Doctor Strange you mentioned looked more like battle damaged Doctor Strange to me, says the Batman. He was a zombie. He was a zombie there. It'd be Wong to kill us. Okay. Christine seeing her Doctor Strange going evil. That was in the What If episode, if I recall correctly, says Marani. Yes, it was.
Yeah, and if you want to know how dark and weird this goes, it's about on par with the What If episode. It's just for 2 hours and 6 minutes instead of,
and it's much more to see it live action than it is animated. Marani also says Doctor Strange weaponizing music makes sense because it's a callback to his geekdom regarding music trivia in the first movie.
Okay, well, there's that, and of course the famous Amy Grant lawsuit and the Saucer Full of Secrets cover having Doctor Strange on it, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and for the sake of my Doctor Strange fandom, I have to say, since basically every spell we've seen Doctor Strange use in the movies so far has been a very obvious reference to one of the spells he had in the comics. Like, for example, his basic shield spell is the Shield of the Seraphim. He uses the Crimson Bands of Sidorak on Thanos at one point in Infinity War, and so on, and the Bolts of Ballpack and all the rest of those. The music weaponization spell, I don't think has a name because I don't think we've seen him do something quite similar in the comics. So for the sake of every Doctor Strange fan everywhere, I'm going to vote that we now refer to this spell as the melodious music of the spears. Okay. You're welcome.
So they, of course, do have their fight. Doctor Strange points out that Wanda can't kill him to kill him because he's possessed a dead body, and they
You're
do
going to
have,
have to do more than kill me to kill me this time.
yeah, they have a pretty good battle between them. Wong shows up to help out a little bit, and then Wong says the same thing as the Doctor Strange at the beginning. You're going to have to absorb America's Chavez's power, which will, of course, kill her. It's what the first Doctor Strange wanted to do, and Doctor Strange runs over and he gives her a talk that yes, you know you can beat her, you know you can use her and control your power, because at this point she really didn't seem like she was in control. And so Wanda uses that moment. She actually knocks down Doctor Strange and Wong. So, of course, America Chavez, it's her moment. And that's when you see her in the preview. Of course, she's jumping and she's flying and she does this punch. That's to Wanda. And she realizes that she cannot defeat, nobody can defeat the Scarlet Witch. It's just not happening. Now, she wanted to see her kids. So she goes, I'm going to give you what you want. And
now,
so
granted, it brings up the question of, now Wanda is Darkhold possessed, so I can understand why she didn't think of this, but couldn't she have just asked America? Like,
no,
hey,
that's actually explained. That is actually explained, because Wong says you can make that little girl take you wherever you want to go. Why do you have to kill her? Why do you have to take her power? And the Scarlet Witch says, because at some point they're going to get sick. And if I have her power somewhere in the multiverse, there is a cure. There's a cure for anything.
okay, yeah, I forgot about that line. That
So
was
she
okay.
needed,
That was good.
in order to protect them, she needs her power so she could travel to whatever universe in order to fix them if they get.
Yeah, Wanda basically wants to pull a Rick Sanchez and pool the resources of every universe to make sure her kids are happy and healthy, and yay,
There you go.
which can't argue with that logic.
And to just to put things in perspective, I just kind of skimmed over about 10 minutes and 15 minutes worth of battle. It is brutal. It's intense, these fights. And then, of course, she shows the universe where there is a Wanda. I don't think it's the same universe as before, but she shows Wanda and her kids sitting in their living room, and there's Scarlet Witch about to kill America Chavez, now looking at her children. And her children get scared and scream. The other Scarlet Witch steps up to defend her children. And this I'm going to refer to them as Scarlet Witch and Wanda now. The Scarlet Witch throws Wanda across the room, which makes her children even more frightened of
because
the
you
Scarlet
hurt
Witch.
our mom, you evil witch.
Yeah. You witch are trying to kill our mother. And she's going over to him. She goes, I'm not a monster. And she looks at him and realizes, wait a second.
Yes,
I am.
Yes, I am.
And so, the kids are scared of her. So she just kind of stops, and she's kneeling there and she's looking and she's thinking about everything she did. And the other Wanda comes up and looks at her, and they touch her.
And to be fair, Strange, I think, mentioned this to Wanda at one point in their first meeting discussing this. Yeah. That universe is going to have its own Wanda. Are you going to take
what's going to happen
kids away from her?
Yeah, what's going to happen to that Wanda? And so she's looking. They close the portal, let that family go about their business. And she realizes that she's become the monster that she never wanted to be. Wong takes America Chavez out of the Darkhold, and Wanda brings the house down.
Yeah.
And that's
now,
the end of the story.
I really should have thought to mention this earlier. Just for the record, Castle Darkhold is on Wundagore Mountain, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, that's right, Wundagore Mountain. So we get from the pages of the Avengers there. It's like I said, watch this movie, gang. I know we just described it to you. If you made it this far, we warned you about the spoilers. We just described
and again, even though I don't think this movie goes as far as I would have liked, it's not Marvel's answer to Ghostbusters 1, as much as I wish it was. It's about on par with Ghostbusters Afterlife, though. If you want a scale for this, it's not as good as Evil Dead. It's not as good as Army of Darkness, but it might be Marvel's answer to the first Evil Dead, and it's not as good as Ghostbusters 1 or 2, but it's about on par with Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's not on par with The Craft, but it's certainly better than The Craft Legacy, for example.
It's certainly better than The Craft, kids. Look, I get it. We have our differences of opinion. I think this movie is better than The Evil Dead. I think it's better than The Evil Dead 2, even. I love those movies. Don't get me wrong. But I do also recognize their limitations. But so we do see, however, of course, America Chavez finding Doctor Strange and saving Christine and so forth and so on. And then we flash forward, Doctor Strange, who had to use the Darkhold, and you always hear there will be consequences and such, is walking down the street, and all of a sudden he screams and he like this, and
his third eye opens.
Yeah, he gets a third eye. And in the mid credits, he once again continuing his trek down the road, and that's when Clea jumps out and says, "You've caused an incursion," and opens up into the Dark Realm.
Yeah. Now, mind you, in regards to this whole third eye business, it started because he was corrupted by the Darkhold, but I don't think it has to stay that way. I think it's just a sign of him leveling up, and he happens to level up with dark magic. But if he, say, finds the Book of the Vishanti in the sequel and actually meets the freaking Vishanti already, if you please, the actual entities who wrote the darn thing, he probably will still maintain that third eye and be able to use it for good, because, as we all know, the third eye is a chakra that exists in many subcategories of mysticism that gets referenced regularly in Doctor Strange comics. So I think while the Darkhold may have been what opened his eye, and part of the reason why I think it is because this is a very clear reference to what the Ancient One said in the first Doctor Strange, right before she zipped him around the magical mystery tour there. Open your eye, i.e., I think she knows that he has to have his eye open for this to go anywhere. And I think she knows that even though it was the Darkhold that opened his eye, just because the eye is open doesn't make that a bad thing. It means that a certain level of power has been attained. But he could just as easily derive that same level of power from the Book of the Vishanti instead.
Okay. Oh, to answer Christopher Barker in the title, I put it there because that's what we hear every time there's a strong female character who has something to do with beating the bad guy. So I put it there. It's a bit of an ironic turn there. I am making fun of it. That's what's going on. It would be ridiculous, even though it was America Chavez's power that showed her the monster that she was. Doctor Strange was all the way through this the main freaking character. He was the one who defeated. He is the one that did the fighting. But I've seen it far too many times that it's like, oh my gosh, this person did this. Therefore, so yeah, I threw that out.
Or this movie is a follow-up to WandaVision, therefore it must be bad automatically. And it's like, no.
And so I just threw that in the title as a bit of irony. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I like to play on words.
And now what we're getting specifically with this movie from the black-pilled types is this movie doesn't serve the fans because it doesn't have cameos galore. And it's like, bitch, please.
That's dumb. That's just ignorant all the way out, because you get, during the Illuminati scene, you get all the cameos you need. It's not a cameo movie. It's a freaking Doctor Strange movie.
This is why I said this is the movie that separates Johnny-come-lately hipsters from the true boo nerds, because the fans that get served in this movie, to a degree less than I would have preferred, but the fans that get served in this movie are the fans of Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, and the mystical side of the multiverse, or the universe, or what have you. And honestly, I think that is more substantive than if this had been No Way Home Take Two, Stranger Boogaloo, which I think is what a lot of the hipster black pill types wanted. And I'm glad that they didn't get what they wanted,
Mhm.
because this time the actual nerds can play a little bit. I stress the term a little bit though, because like I said, this is at 11 out of 28 in my MCU ranking, not
I
not
haven't done a ranking in a long time, so I don't know
one.
where it sits, but I like this movie. I
Yeah,
think it, and the fact that it is its own film, that it really does look different, sound different, feel different
yeah,
than any other Marvel Universe movie. It
yeah.
reminds me of how the Marvel Universe started, like phase one, rather than what are we in phase 4 or 5 now, something like that.
Phase four, yeah.
Phase four, yeah, it reminds me of a phase one movie where you had different directors bringing in their own visions. It really fits. It's its own movie, but it just fits solidly. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
I got my Lovecraftian horror comedy. It's just not quite Ghostbusters or Labyrinth or Dark Crystal level. It's more like a Ghostbusters Afterlife or a uh Happy Death Day. That's a perfect uh sort of categorizer for this movie. It's not as good as a Wes Craven dark comedy like something like Leprechaun or Wishmaster or something, but it's better than the um directly released to home video additions to those franchises. It's better than the later Hellraiser movies. It's just not as good as the first one or the second one.
is this a movie? Is this movie controversial? And should I see it? Says Rhaegar. I said yes. I think you should go see this in a theater because it would benefit from the larger screen and the better sound system. Um,
Please, please see it, because my major complaint with this is it didn't quite go far enough, and the only way it's ever going to go far enough is if
okay,
enough people see this and Marvel goes, now see, the Sam Raimi Lovecraftian horror comedy route seems to be working for us. So, we'll uh,
but it
we'll investigate this.
it had jokes, but it wasn't a jokey movie. This is not Thor Ragnarok. It doesn't destroy the dramatic scenes with a stupid joke.
Yeah, it's a horror comedy, or if you prefer, it's like something you would have gotten in the 80s when kids movies still had their nethers attached. Um, it's not as good as Temple of Doom by any stretch of the imagination, and it's not as good as Return to Oz, and it's not as good as Labyrinth or Dark Crystal, but it might be to the level of something like The Black Hole or Darby O'Gill and Little People, if that's your speed.
Hmm. Okay, now how to see this but not pay Disney? The best way to do it would go to AMC on I would say, a weekday where the theaters aren't so full. Buy a ticket for another movie, go into Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange reaction to seeing the girl's childhood and her mom's. I would have just gave her to Scarlet Witch. Oh yeah, that is something I did have a little problem with. They gave her the origin story of her two moms on another planet. I was like, oh no,
Yeah,
not
the
that.
utopian parallel.
Yeah,
But
there
again,
you
they
go.
they
It
fi-
was,
they fixed they fixed America. She's not
yeah,
speaking
she's a
Spanglish. She's not overly confrontational. She's not Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers Jr. or anything. She's a tough street smart kid who has very obviously had a weird and harsh life, and it's
but
given
she's
her
not
a little bit of
tougher
ability
and
to
better
say.
than everybody else.
No, she
Christopher Barker, why would you do that to me without saying spoiler warning or hey, did you see what happened on the Flash? I haven't watched Flash since season 7. Oh man. But thank you, I guess. uh They shouldn't have. But let's remember, Gabby Rivera is still the national treasure that she is. We're going to be doing a reading of America Chavez #5 tomorrow because that is the pinnacle. I figured we haven't done a reading of any. I've actually done reviews of them, but we haven't done a reading on any America Chavez book yet.
Which issue was the issue where Arcade has mindless ones? Because when you guys get to that one, I want in.
That is #8.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when you get to #8, let me know because I need to rage about
we will.
that was actually how we met. Actually, I comment or how I sort of became part of this crew was I saw Englantine's America #8 review, and he goes, "Arcade has mindless ones," and I'm like, "What in the name of all things holy is going on? The
Go figure.
freak does Arcade have mindless ones? Are you high?"
Yeah, it's pretty out there. But I really did enjoy this film. It's a lot of fun. I do recommend it. I don't know where I would put it in the Marvel universe. I have to do my own ranking, I guess, at some point.
Christopher Barker, please see it in the theater. I want this to do well, and the only way for it to do financially well, unfortunately, is if we pay the piper. Because I want a version of a Doctor Strange movie that does live up to the moniker um of Marvel's answer to Labyrinth or Ghostbusters or Dark Crystal. And if we want to get there, the only way to do that is to support it when they go around the same ballpark as Ghostbusters Afterlife, and they did. So
Okay.
yeah.
I have a question for you guys in the chat. I do appreciate the audience that we've gained while we were doing this. Here's the question. This is really the first time we did a non-spoiler for about 20-25 minutes and then basically told the story of the movie while we're reviewing and talking about it. Do you like that format? Because I actually had fun with it. It would probably mean I would have to do immediate reviews because, as you know, towards the end I was losing my memory anyway. But do you like this format where we watch a movie and immediately talk about it and we do this spoiler version at the end where we're going through the whole story? I did see a couple of comments along the way where it was like, hey, you're making this sound good. And I'm glad we're able to relay that, because even though Dalton seems to be a little bit more skeptical about this movie, I really did enjoy it. Now, we were asked by Rhaegar to rate this within 5 stars. I say let's go 10. 1 and 2 being levels of horrible, 3 and 4 being levels of bad, 5 and 6 being levels of average, 7 and 8 being levels of good, and 9 and 10 being levels of excellent. Where would you put this?
Am I allowed to go decimals?
No, that's why I gave it levels.
Okay, 7.
7. So you think it's on the low side of good, almost?
Yeah, like I said when we came in, basically, this movie sits at 11 out of 28 on my MCU ranking list, and I'll go through it again for those that didn't see it the first time. The way my list is set up is I consider 10 movies within the MCU to be outright bad, 5 to be meh to disposable, 13 to be good. 13 of them so far have been good, and 0 of them have been what I would call great. This movie is 11 out of 13 on the good side. So it's on the lower end of good, but it's still good. And again, a large part of that is that Sam Raimi and I are on the same page with regard to this, in that the most important part of Multiverse of Madness was not the multiverse part, it was the Lovecraftian of Madness part. I wanted a Lovecraftian horror comedy, and I got that to a degree.
I only have one Marvel movie that I consider bad. Like I tried watching it again. I did. I made it towards the end, but it was like, what else can I do while it's on? And that's Captain Marvel. The other ones I know of the meh, as you say. I know Thor: Dark World would be in there, and Uh, I don't know. I would have to think about that. See, I need to rank them myself, um, because there's not a lot that I don't actively enjoy in some way, shape, or form. The other one that I probably, as much as I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it more than a lot of people, the Eternals might actually make them meh. Because as much as I did talk about it when it came out, hey, this is it's epic. It's got a big story. It's very ambitious, and I enjoyed the ambition. It's been on Disney Plus now for a while, and I have had no.
It's missing every ounce of Jack Kirby
Oh yeah.
that something like Guardians or Thor Ragnarok had, or better yet, Suicide Squad 2 and Shazam had
Okay.
for the opposition. So for me, Eternals is the absolute bottom of the barrel. It's worse than Thor: The Dark World, and Thor 1, Thor 2, Thor 1 and Thor 2 used to be the bottom of my barrel, and then Eternals dug that barrel just a little bit deeper. Um, Eternals is the worst MCU movie in my opinion. This one is good. Um, I just wish that it had come out when the first one did.
Mhm.
So that this could have been and should have been the level at which we were starting, not the level we're at. You know, 5 movie appearances of Doctor Strange and several show appearances of Doctor Strange in the can.
Yeah. Oh, so we're asked. What is this? Wait, I don't know what Slytherclaw is saying. I don't. Dalton is able to read chats. His access is from his phone. You would have to ask him. Yeah, that's how
No,
I've been about it. But
I can see the chat. I just it kind of splits my attention because the chat takes up the entire screen when I bother to check the chat. So
Glimzer is saying that he thinks you might have given it a 7.5 if I allowed for the decimal.
um 7.3, 7.4 is where I would have put it. Honestly, um if that Doctor Strange weaponizing music scene had been longer,
Mm-hmm.
um
It might have gone over the top.
if it had been 10 minutes instead of the like 5 that it was, then we would be talking about a 7.5. But uh, the as per usual with the MCU, my complaints are mostly with the fact of, okay, guys, I've been very patient. I let all the other kids go first. Um, and now I would like a turn, please. And also one of the complaints I keep seeming to revisit when I review modern day MCU movies is it's always they do just enough to get by, not enough to say so. And this is still kind of in that same ballpark of
Disagree.
they did enough. And I do give Sam Raimi a lot of credit for being on the same page as me with regards to the fact that this should have been and is, for the most part, a Lovecraftian horror comedy for kids.
I
Um,
would probably. I don't know. I didn't put my number on it. I want to see it again because I'm so afraid when I'm this excited about a movie. I'm always worried about recency biased. So like right now I put it in a 9, but I want to see it again. I want to see if it holds up, to see if it would stay there, or would it be a case of, okay, now that I saw that, does it hold up? So let's see. Defender Strange was right intellectually, yes, but it's comic book, and comic books always have that moral. Eternals is the first MC movie that I had to seriously fight to stay awake to watch. I can't argue that.
I,
Christopher
I
Barker
I
is saying,
believe you.
yeah,
It was a terrible copy of Denis Villeneuve, who himself was a terrible copy of Christopher Nolan, who wasn't all that good to begin with. So yeah,
oh, wow. Christopher Barker saying Eternals is worse than Captain Marvel for him. I can't argue that, but for me,
yep.
Captain Marvel's the bottom of the barrel. What I'd asked was if this movie was more along the lines of Labyrinth as opposed to Dark Crystal for Dalton.
Yeah, I would like that too. But what I mean is the kinds of kids movies you saw in the like 80s and 90s, the kinds of like um Return to Oz, um Something Wicked This Way Comes, those kind of movies that scar you a little. Something along the lines of like the show Courage the Cowardly Dog, or the more trippy parts of Shaolin Showdown when they were actually in the Shaolin Showdown parts. Um, plus, you know, the darker aspects of an episode like the Sapphire Dragon or something. That's kind of in the general, because of course it's not gonna go. Of course, it's not gonna go like full evil. It's not gonna go full um Evil Dead or full Wes Craven, but it could very easily have been um Marvel's answer to something like Ghostbusters or Labyrinth or Dark Crystal or
Okay,
Return to
so
Oz.
Vic is saying I'm really kind of pissed about the moms in the Planet for Tona. I'm really upset. That's on you. And I'm not using that as any kind of insult or anything. It's a very small part of a longer movie. I get it because I did read and review damn near every one of the America Chavez from the Gabby Rivera run. That being said, once again, it was so small that when repeating this, I actually forgot to mention it.
It's not woke because America Chavez isn't a confrontational little piece of crap like Carol Danvers is. Um, and if anything, and this is the olive branch I'll give to the black pilled sort of anti woke types, of
Mhm.
which we all oppose social justice
Well, yeah,
bad.
I'm anti woke myself. I'm just not black pilled.
Yeah, yeah, and that, but it's a reason to fight harder, not a reason to get cynical, and that's where I part company
I
with a
would
lot of
see it
black
like
folks.
this, and this is kind of how I did see it. When I saw it, I remember I went, "Oh my God, they're using Gabby Rivera's origin." That's exactly how I said it because in this on this channel, and we invite everybody on this channel, we call Gabby Rivera a national treasure because nobody has written such a great bad comic as
No,
those 10 issues.
nobody has red pilled more people on the SJW problem with modern comics harder than Gabby Rivera, ladies
The
and gentlemen.
the 10 issues of America Chavez written by Gabby Rivera are so bad. They're Rocky Horror Picture Show levels of bad for comics. And so when I saw that, I actually kind of liked it a bit because even though, yes, I think that is a bad run and it's a horrible origin for her, it was a little shout out to Gabby Rivera. And
Yeah,
I had to, just because I love her for making that awesome, awesome bad comic. I got to tell you, I enjoyed it just a little bit. Man, I was so proud of America Chavez's character when she was first introduced. So bad out, I thought of her like Selena Quintilla from another universe or something.
yeah, but
Um,
back to my olive branch for the black pilled types. The good news for you, denizens of the cynical and black pilled portion of the anti-SJW movement, of which I am a part, um, is they literally use America Chavez as a MacGuffin,
mhm.
not a hero. So if you're worried about her upstaging Strange or upstaging Wanda or Wanda
Doesn't
upstaging
happen.
Strange or whatever, they don't. America Chavez is quite literally a living MacGuffin, and if you want to see it like this, and you need to, if you're cynical and black-pilled, they literally do to her what DNC or your boy Zach back when he was diversity in comics, what he used to call purse puppying. That's what they do to America Chavez. She's literally the living MacGuffin throughout this entire movie,
Mhm.
and her role is about the size of Sam Wilson's in Winter Soldier. So it shouldn't bother you that much because she, apart from being the MacGuffin, she really doesn't. She like I say, she doesn't have a Captain Marvel crushing a dude's hand because he told her to smile moment, or a um, or a uh, Batwoman style. It will be when it fits a woman moment. She doesn't have that. The worst thing she has, that I could see the black pill types making a lot of hay out of, is she comes from a world where everything is free because it is a utopian dimension, and so she doesn't understand the concept of paying for things. So there are a couple moments in this movie where they take America out to eat to kind of make sure she's safe and happy, and she is confused by the concept of having to pay for food with money. That
Well,
that's it. That's as bad as it gets.
it's about time we wrap this up. We just passed the 1:30 mark, and I don't want this to go on too long. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Agree or disagree, that's fine. Everybody has their own reactions and such to movies. Obviously, while both of us enjoyed it, I enjoyed it more. Um, so there you go. I'm glad you guys liked the format as well. Thank you very much for that. I will also say this, and this is a hill I'm going to die on, even though I know this movie's going to bomb just because of the reaction of the people around me. While I was watching it, while I was watching the trailer, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is gorgeous!"
Yeah.
Avatar 2. I finally saw a preview for Avatar 2 on the big screen, and I was like, "Freaking hell, this is beautiful."
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna be on your side with that one, E.
That is
Well,
exactly what I heard all around me, and I'm like, "Oh, that sucks."
well,
That
well,
sucks.
I don't want it to bomb outright because I want James Cameron to basically be a VFX workhorse so we can have bigger, better VFX blockbusters in the future. Um, I'm literally looking at James Cameron right now and mentally quoting Judge Claude Frollo from Hunchback and going, "This this poor loathsome creature may prove someday to be
Of
of
use to me.
use to me."
Yep. Miss So,
That's my thoughts with regards to
uh,
Avatar. I
we'll
want it to
close on
be
this.
okay so that it's useful, but I don't want it to be a massive hit because James Cameron is an egotistical prick and he spent the last 10 years crapping all over superhero movies. So I want Shazam 2 to do better than Avatar 2 so that James Cameron has to eat crow, but I want it to be successful enough to justify a sequel so that I can make use of James Cameron and his VFX
Okay.
workhorseness.
By the way, guys, to answer Miss So's question, Black Pill is those who are like just negative on everything. It seems like they're Pavlovian in their responses at this point in time. That
People,
okay, here's a new trailer, it's automatically bad, and it gets to the point where are these real opinions? Or are they just now doing it because they know it's there? It's starting to seem very
yeah,
insincere in my opinion, but I could be wrong.
the people who yield to cynical nihilism because they've
Yeah.
been whacked with the disappointment stick a few too many times and now they can't believe that anything could ever possibly be decent or that any use of any diverse quote unquote character could possibly be something other than woke.
Glenzer saying Avatar is Cameron's worst movie, including Piranha 2. I disagree with you on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no,
I did.
I'll
I
co-sign
didn't
that.
hate it. I didn't hate it as much as everybody else did. I do agree that what you saw on the screen is like, oh my gosh, and then what you saw in the video was, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. But it was just that reaction they were bringing in with a. It was no Titan. We just did 2 fucking hours telling you guys, no, this isn't a movie about other characters. Watch the fucking movie for yourself and stop listening to other people and letting them have your own. You should have an opinion of yourself. God, you know what? He needs to be gone now. This is so stupid. You are not telling me
I
that an
literally
entire you have been commenting on a fucking movie as if you saw it and you just listen to the opinions of the others. Who the fuck are you, young Rippa?
I
Are
literally
you all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I didn't see this movie, but this guy over here said this, so let me make a 10 fucking minute video about it? Get
I
the
literally
fuck out of here.
I
Get
literally
the fuck off my channel.
okay, but I literally opened this review by saying that this is going to disappoint the casual come lately hipsters because it's not Cameo the movie and it is a albeit somewhat middling uh Lovecraftian horror comedy in the vein of Evil Dead but with Doctor Strange lore as the center of it. So there, the matter is settled. It is more of a Doctor Strange movie than a cameos for all movie with some Doctor Strange.
I want to
As I said many times over.
I
Done.
want to put some context into what just happened there. When I first started doing all of this, there were a few of us out there, me and DNC and Cummings, and just there were a few of us out there. And I would tell people because I would say something, And actually, my blood pressure is doing great. So I've been to the doctor. They're amazed at how strong my heart is, even. But what would happen is I would say something and I would hear, well, diversity in comics said. And I'm like, yeah. I don't want to hear what diversity in comics. I watch his videos. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear your thoughts. And I prefer to hear what Slitherclaw has to say or Miss So has to say. Tell me. But if you didn't see the freaking movie and you're talking about all throughout the freaking review as if you've seen it, but all you're doing is regurgitating somebody else's misconceptions of what happened, I have no respect for it. I honestly do not have any respect for that. I want to, if you watched it and you have counterpoints, that's a different thing altogether. That's a difference of opinion. That's, me and Dalton are talking about that throughout.
And it's not like I've been overwhelmingly positive throughout this review. I've said several times that I had problems with the movie, and I even ranked it 11 out of 28, bearing in mind that only the top 13 are ones I consider good. So, like, I've been harsh on this movie. I bet E thinks I went a little bit too hard on the thing.
No, actually, no. Like I said, I know who I am. I know that I am the easiest shill for superhero movies. So when I'm this excited coming out of a superhero movie these days, I like to watch it a second time before I really settle down. I mean, like I said, at this point, it's at a 9. I can't say it's perfect because it did have a few things here or there where I was like, yeah, I'm not sure about that, or maybe it was a little bit too long in a scene or two. It did not in any way, shape, or form mention Kang the Conqueror.
No.
So that is separate. That is
Kang's a coming in Quantumania, and we'll probably hear more about him as time serves when we get closer to that. And we might get some mention of him in Thor: Love and Thunder now that once Gore goes through and probably murders a bunch of gods, and in the same way that Thanos was probably waiting for the Ancient One to die and for Asgard to get destroyed before he went full Infinity War. Because you don't want to fight.
Miss So, in all honesty, I'm being very honest. You guys, I don't know if y'all, I don't know how new you are, but a couple of years ago, I had a heart attack scare. I was at work and it just, and they put me on a gurney. While I was on the gurney, apparently I flatlined.
Yeah, I remember that day. We were all worried. It was not good.
I actually shouted out, hold on, wait, what's happening? I remember yelling, what's happening to me, is I fell back and apparently all the blood just rushed out. I was just, because I don't know if I flatlined. I don't exactly know what happened. I shouldn't say that. But what happened to me made the paramedics go into emergency mode, and they rip the clothes off and they're putting all the wires on and they're giving me the shots and all that kind of stuff to get me calmed down. I even told the person, so hold on, wait, I can do this. I can get myself back. I remember saying that. And then I realized where my hand was. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. My hand, it's in your lap. I shouldn't have it there. No, because the paramedic that was setting me up, it was a female, and I just realized where my hand was. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I tried to move it. She goes, nope, you're okay. Let me take care of you. So they got me into the hospital and all the tests came back fine. I even had this, they put the little sonogram stuff on my chest, and this girl comes in and I'm having a conversation. She's oh, I love the heart. It's an interesting mother. She starts talking and she goes, oh, wow, you have a beautiful heart, which surprised me. So we don't know. They never told me what it was, but they did tell me what it wasn't. So yeah, I did.
Yeah. And Smokey, yeah, don't go in with high expectations. I will say this again for the record. It's not as good as No Way Home. It's not as good as Civil War. I do think it is better than Winter Soldier. And I do think the closest movie in terms of scope and scale and quality that you want to compare this to, if you're not going to be disappointed, is Winter Soldier, because just like Winter Soldier was darker than the first Doctor Strange or the first Captain America, so too this movie is darker than the first Doctor Strange. Just like to the same degree that Winter Soldier was a political thriller in the style of like a Jason Bourne, this movie is a horror comedy in the rough style of a Happy Death Day or an Evil Dead 1, not as good as Evil Dead 2 or 3, but around that same ballpark. It's not as good as Trick or Treat, it's not as good as Krampus in terms of like other horror comedies, not as good as Ghostbusters 1 or 2, but it is a relatively on par with Ghostbusters Afterlife.
It's
That's
better
the
than
rough
all those
ballpark you
movies.
should expect for.
I can say it is. Look, I enjoyed all those films you mentioned, but yes, I actually gotta say Doctor Strange is better than. You know what we should do? We should do a bracket for the Marvel Universe or something. Let's see how that goes. Anywho, gang, once again, thank you very much for holding out. Sorry, I actually made it. I almost made it to the end without losing my temper. No Germans were bombing Pearl Harbor right up until the end, and it just to be. I kind of pegged that guy as a troll anyway, so I wasn't commenting. But honestly, it's something it drives me nuts. I like the people who are on this channel a lot, and I welcome new guys too. I want to hear your opinions, but don't come in with other people's opinions as if I don't watch them either. I know whose thoughts you're regurgitating back to me, because as much as I do complain, I actually watch those channels too because they're filled with friends of mine. I disagree with them. I don't particularly agree with them, but that doesn't mean you gotta go off. But give me your opinions. That's what I care about, because I want to know about you guys. Have a good night, says Miss So. Actually, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good place to call it. Magical Winter Soldier was very, very good, and that's what I'm going to call Doctor Strange too.
I do recommend it on the big screen, but I understand if you save it for streaming, because let's face it, it's only like 4 months away, and most of us have awesome TVs and sound systems these days anyway. All right, kids, thanks for hanging out with us. I do know another one of these videos is coming up with me, Venkman, and LK reviewing Moon Knight, because the three of us have our different opinions on that, where one of us, if you watched American Idol, one of us is the Simon Cowell, one of us is the middle of the road Randy, and the other one is the Paula.
Can I jump in on that?
Paula, I'm not the Paula.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah, if you want. Just a brief thing. I could not be as whelmed as I am. I couldn't be any more whelmed. I was just whelmed over Moon Knight. It was so
it was adequate.
My gosh, if Rice Cakes made a movie or a TV show, it'd be called Moon Knight.
Yeah, this movie isn't anywhere near that level of adequate. But yeah, that first third of what you said also would describe how I feel about this. It was adequate.
Moon Knight is the movie equivalence of breathing. You're doing it, but sometimes you just don't pay attention to it. All right, kids, you have a great time. Join us for the Moon Knight review when we get around to that one, hopefully tomorrow. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Maranya included the Ko-Fi link. If you want to help out the channel, just drop $1 in the tip jar. Thank everybody who's already done that. To everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night.
Cheers, guys.